Are you an employee wondering how to get noticed at work? Or are you a business owner wanting to get the attention of new clients to make an impact and increase your profitability? Tune in to today's episode to learn 5 steps you can take to achieve your goals.
Welcome to Biz Help for You with host Candy Messer. Entrepreneurs like to focus on the big picture, like profitability, success, and a smooth-running organization. But there always seems to be those little things like taxes, employee compensation, laws, regulations, and more. Now you can get the answers you need in one place. Join us today as we break it all down for you. Now, here's your host, Candy Messer.
Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer. Thank you for joining me today. If you missed my last episode and would like to listen to the show, links can be found on my social media pages as well as multiple favorite podcast platforms. If you'd like to receive notifications on when my podcasts have been uploaded, please like and subscribe. This episode is a little different than my usual interviews as I recorded multiple podcasts in one day at an event and didn't have bios to read at that time. So let me share a little bit about my guest today. Raja is a kickboxing, opera singing, cancer scientist from Philadelphia. Rocky Balboa can't stand toe-to-toe with this speaker that can't talk right. He'll flip your fear to your superpower. With 38 years in martial arts and in Hall of Fame, Master Vaidya is a 25-year cancer scientist and is the rising tide in our lives. Now to the interview with Raja Vaidya. So, Raja, welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much, Candy. I can't wait to share with the audience.
Yeah, and I know we're going to have a really interesting discussion, important discussion, but before we get into the actual topic, I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about yourself and how did you begin working with entrepreneurs to help them build their profitability?
Well, here's what happens. I tell people that I've been in the martial arts for 38 years. I've been a cancer scientist over 25 years, and I've been an opera singer for over 10 years. So I tell people as a triangle of fun, I do cancer research for the mind, karate for the body, and music for the soul. And last year, my boss of 15 years retired. I saw the shift that was happening and it was time to move on. So during that time, I decided that I was going to really focus on my mind shift coaching platform, which I've had for the past few years. And it's called Victory Mindset Academy. And what I do is I work on specifically helping people to shift from a white belt mind lock to a black belt mind shift and using those strategies like a toolbox to carry around with you throughout the day. So when you get triggered by that email or somebody cuts you off on your drive home or that you have to go home, you have to cook and clean for the kids and, somebody breaks a plate, you're not
Right.
going DEFCON 1 on them. And so you can use these strategies to help to not only to control your reactions and turn yourself into a positive person, but also to improve the control of your life, improve your communications. And when you start to improve your communications and control over what you can do and what you're capable of doing, all of a sudden you're more productive, and more productivity means more profitability.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely interesting. I mean, I don't think I've heard of somebody having such a background as yours. It's not even necessarily finance related, talking about profit, so it's kind of an interesting, way to come at it. But I would love for you just to share maybe some tips that you have put together for entrepreneurs for them to look at to say okay, what can I do to better improve my profitability in my business?
Certainly. And this really segues very nicely into what I call my 5 steps of black belt confident profits. And what it really is about going through that journey of understanding what you're capable of, what you're not capable of yet. And I stress yet, because the whole point is that we are all capable of so much more than we realize. So pretend you walk into the door of my karate school. And I was head instructor for my teacher's karate school for 25 years, and I owned my own karate school for 7 years until a car accident finally took me out. But that's another story. When I have a student come in, I tell them to, welcome to our martial arts family, because they made the choice. So as a white belt, they have to earn their first rank in class. So they actually have to come in. I give them the uniform, but I don't give them the belt until they complete their class. And only then do they get their belt. And then we make a big show of it in the beginning. You're like, wow, yes, we got an amazing champion right here because I just created that opportunity, that created that win for them because they made a choice. So the first step in the process is, as a white belt, you have to make a choice. So that means as an entrepreneur, you have to make a choice. What do you want to do? How are you going to
Mm-hmm.
do it? Start getting on that journey because when JFK said like we go to the moon not because it's easy, because it's hard. It's
Mm-hmm.
because they made that choice that we have to beat the USSR to the moon, right? When like Martin Luther King gave his "I Have a Dream" speech, he made a choice to write something iconic that has
Mm-hmm.
changed. And oh my God, I get chills right now just thinking about it. And so our first step is to make a choice. So as an entrepreneur, make your choice that you're going to do it. You're
Mm-hmm.
really going to do it. Second step, as an orange belt, and maybe you don't want to go out on a stage with 10,000 people just yet, right? Or maybe you don't have the automations and your lead magnets and everything built in. Maybe you don't have your email list set up yet, or maybe you don't even have an email list. I remember when I began, I started out with friends and family. I had no
Mm-hmm.
list, so I had to build that up to thousands and thousands of people, and that took time. So, how can we start our first step beyond that? So we made our decision. Next step is start to gather your resources and start what I call success adjacent kind of work. That means, as an entrepreneur, what can you do to gain 1% improvement every single day? So in the
Mm-hmm.
karate school, I call this about being consistent because consistency beats intensity every day.
Mm-hmm.
Because on the way to black belt, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be many, many days where you're going to feel terrible. You don't want to go to class. You got to push yourself. You got to be there. So
Right.
how do you do that? Suppose you work in an office. Ask, is there anything I could do to help the team? I ask my boss each week, hey, what can I do that is a big challenge for you this week? And she tells me. And when I complete them, she's just shocked that number one, I even asked. And number two, I actually did what I said I was going to do. That's what you can do. That's the first step is you don't have to be the the front person in the lead band in front of 50,000 people. Start small. Hey, we have a lunch next week for a VP. Can I organize that? Let me send out the emails. Let me organize the restaurant we're going to go to. Now you're doing success adjacent work. Now, once you do it once, guess what's going to happen? They're going to expect you to do more, which means they're now changing their perception of you. So now that takes us to step three, where you now become a reliable resource. That's a reliable resource. So now as a green belt, we now go from white belt where you made a decision, orange belt, you start to do success adjacent work. And now third step as a green belt, now you become a reliable resource. You start doing 2 things, 3 things, 5 things all of a sudden. And it is now your opportunity to show people that you can do more. Say, hey, thanks so much. I can handle this. I'm so glad you asked me for this. And it is now your opportunity to show people that you can continue to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, which leads us right to step number four. Step number four begins, we're going to expand your BS. And we can all guess what BS stands for, right? We're going to expand our belief system. And what that means is that by you expanding your belief system in yourself, you have now grown beyond what you thought you could do. And you've also grown beyond your perception of what other people can do. Now, do you see how this applies not only to the martial arts, it applies to a business, it applies to family like relationships, it it actually applies to your communication skills. If you want to be a speaker or get out in front of the stage and talk to others, these are all different traits that you can use. Now, as an entrepreneur, you can say, you know what, well, I don't like dealing with the technology of entrepreneurship. I don't know how to make an email list or send out
Mm-hmm.
automations. That's okay. Start out small, right? And start building it up. And so once you become that, expanding that belief system, other people start to believe in you more. They expect more from you. Now you have really, reached the tipping point. And once you become that reliable leader, guess what happens? You become a black belt. And as a black belt, here's what I say. The black belt is a role model because they are a master of the basics. A
Mm-hmm.
master of the basics. Now, being a master of the basics means that you can do the stuff that you thought was difficult before, now it becomes easy. So now it's no big deal. So now what you do is you have to give back, and you create the circle, because being a leader is being a servant leader. In the
Hmm.
beginning you serve, and in the end you lead, but you really become a servant leader again. So you're still serving and you're still leading at the same time.
Hmm.
So those are those 5 steps. Now, I hit those very high level. And what I do is, like, a couple of like weeks ago, I just got hired as a keynote speaker to give a half an hour talk to a bunch of project management professionals. They had, some of them were brand new, some of them had been in project management for 20 years. And the organizer of the event said that because of what they found out about me, that was the most highly attended event of the entire year. And they do this every month. And I said, wow, thank you so much. And so I gave them all my info and they all connected with me. And it's been an amazing change. And because I help people to kind of very simply walk through those steps. And then once we figure out within each specific field what someone is good at and what they want to do, then we actually help them perform to their potential.
How do
Well,
they do
yeah.
that though? Because if someone's listening now and they're saying like, okay, I hear your steps and that sounds great, but it sounds like a lot of that was related to like being in corporate or something too. So if I'm a solopreneur and
Mhm.
I'm not having to see what my boss needs, but what can I do to implement something that's going to impact my profitability and make it better?
Gotcha. So here's what you do. I'm an entrepreneur too, and I've been in both worlds. I was on the board of directors of 3 different opera companies at one point. Plus, I also started my own business, my own brick and mortar business, and multiple virtual businesses. Now I have a VA team that works with me. So guess what I
Mhm.
did this whole time? I've been learning. And so here's what I want you to think. As an entrepreneur, you now have the opportunity to not serve yourself. You have the opportunity to create that impact, and
Mhm.
impact always precedes income. A
Mhm.
lot of people think, oh, well, I want to make $100,000 a year. I want to make 100,000 a month. I want to make 30K a month, and then everything will be fine. Everything will be perfect then. There's no perfect. There's no like tipping point or turning door that like where everything is perfect. It's not. There will be rises and peaks, and you'll realize later on that those peaks were really the base of a higher mountain. And so that
Mhm.
next peak you reach to is the base of the next mountain. And but then what happens is, as a mind shift coach, I tell you, as an entrepreneur too, you can easily start to look around and start to organize for like one thing. Do you do 25 like reach outs every single day? Do you
Mhm.
have a client list? Do you know what your click through rate is? If you do something, what I call like a reverse tracking, say you want to get 30 clients a month at 1K, so there's your 30K per month. All right. In order to get one client a day, how many people actually need to see your offer? And
Mhm.
of the people that actually see your offer, how many actually click through, and how many
Mhm.
actually get onto a call, and find out your percentages. And then what you
Right.
start to find out is that if you get to, all right, well, if I need one a day, that means, I need to talk to 10 people. But in order to talk to 10 people, at least 30 people need to see my offer. So that
Mhm.
means every day I need at least 30 contacts. Well,
Right.
oh, I didn't realize
That's
that.
right. That's a big
Yes,
number for some
exactly.
people. Well, and I think too, as you're talking, and it makes me think, right, that will help generate your revenue too, right? But just because you have the
Mhm.
revenue doesn't mean that you're profitable too. So, like, what would you say to someone too about, maybe they shouldn't just be focusing? I tell this to people all the time, don't just focus on the top number. That could be a
No,
big number, but your profit could be negative. So, like, what would you say to someone who maybe they're generating the revenue, but they're still not seeing the profit?
absolutely. Well, here's what I would do. Number one, the easiest way to get caught up in all this and start to lose a lot of money is to buy too much tech and too many programs and things. Start out simple, and then once you start to get, I like I'm in so there's startup mode in a business, then there's scaling mode, and then there's at scale mode. There are
Mm-hmm.
different operations and attributes at each of those stages. And
Mm-hmm.
what you need to start to shore up is, where am I losing money? So for example, this year I just exploded. Like last year, I had an email list of 200. Now I have a list well over 3,000, and it's going to be over 5,000 by the end of this year. And my show has exploded and my impact has really, really expanded a lot because of my show. And so as a result, I started to say, oh my God, I need a VA team. I had to hire people
Right.
to help me out because I couldn't do everything myself. And on top of that, now I got to track them. All right. So what other
Mhm.
software do I need? I need something like a Trello board or a CRM to help me keep track of the contacts. Well, if I need that, well, I can buy this software and this software and this software, and I need StreamYard for this, and I need Vimeo for hosting, and I need something else. And so I had multiple software platforms going at one point, and I was thinking, I started to add up how much I was spending on stuff.
Mhm.
You know, a couple $100 might turn into $1,000 or more when you start doing that. So one thing I started doing is I started to look at what is an all-inclusive offer. And now, I found like, for example, like I don't know if you know CRM
Mhm.
Raptor, they have a combined summit platform as well as a funnel building platform. And they include, so I'm now shifting into that. So now I'm consolidating everything. So for my next event, like the Rising Tide Summit, I'm going to be Dave Erickson. He's going to be one of my main sponsors for that summit because he sees what I've been doing and all the growth I've done. And so
Mhm.
that means now I can have less systems. I can now cancel my calendar because now that's part of this new platform. I can cancel Vimeo because I don't need to store it there. I can store it there for free. Now my automations, my CRM, I don't need an external CRM. I have one built in. So
Mhm.
this is where you start to save money. So first thing is, number one thing is don't hope for perfection, get it done. Okay.
Right.
Done is better than perfect. The biggest mistake that I've made, and I'll tell you, believe me, is waiting to be perfect to do something.
Mhm.
Stop
Mhm.
that. Stop that.
Right.
I'll give you a hint. I'm not perfect and you're not perfect. So you're in good company.
Right. Exactly. Well, I know there's so much that goes into all of this. I mean, these are the kinds of things I teach clients as well too, look
Yeah,
at your expenses and, audit what you're doing. And I know we're running short on time, so I want to give you the opportunity to share an offer with the listeners and how can they connect with you if they want to follow up with you?
absolutely. The best way to connect with me is to use my email, Raja, RAJA, V like victory, speaker @gmail.com, rajavspeaker@gmail.com. I also have my website, victorymindsetacademy.com, victorymindsetacademy.com. And on that, there is a free fast action mindset course. It's 5 modules, 3 minutes each. So in about 15 to 20 minutes, you will create a mind shift in your life today, not wait
Nice.
6 months. And after that, if you like it and you like want to work further with me, then there's other options there.
Perfect. Well,
Mhm.
thank you, Raja, for being a guest and really talking about this from a totally different perspective than I've had before. Like I said, it was just so interesting to hear, yeah, you've got, someone who's got a black belt and an opera singer and does research, right? Those are different things that you wouldn't think would be talking about finance, but it was really
I'm
interesting. So,
eclectic.
right. So I enjoyed the conversation. So thank you so
Well, thank
much.
you. Me as well. And for everyone out there, like my tagline I use all the time for my show, don't fake it till you make it. Instead, believe it and become it.
Mhm. Perfect. Well, thanks so much. And I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning in today. I hope you found this discussion interesting and enjoyed the discussion on the topic 5 tips to achieving impact and profit. Would you please share my show with those you know and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform? I'd really appreciate your support. If you have any additional questions or comments, be sure to reach out to Raja or send me a message at media@abandp.com. I hope you can connect with me. I hope you can join me for my next interview. And remember, you can connect with me on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And my website is abandp.com. This episode is sponsored by Affordable Bookkeeping and Payroll Services. If you are overwhelmed trying to handle the aspects of your financial picture, AB&P is here to help. Contact us today to discuss your needs at 310-534-5577 or contact@abandp.com. My team and I are eager to assist you. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.